Once when Jesus was teaching, he kept getting interrupted by parents with their young kids. Jesus' disciples went so far as to scold the parents for asking Jesus to bless these kids. But Jesus saw things differently. Jesus said to his disciples, "Let the children come to me. Don't stop them. For the kingdom of God belongs to those who are like these children. I tell you the truth, anyone who doesn't receive the kingdom of God like a child will never enter it." Samuel was the first of a long line of prophets, known to Israel as one who spoke for God. We imagine him with his long gray beard and staff, traveling the ancient roads and declaring the words of the Lord to his people. Samuel wasn't the first to have heard from God, but he became a tradition of powerful individuals who challenged Israel and their leaders. A prophet was a character of power and authority and often feared. Samuel was the first formative figure of this tradition. Imposing, decisive, and rugged, he became a mold for so much of the prophetic work that came after him. It's to people like this that we imagine God speaking. Legendary, heroic types, stoic in stature and bold in voice. But Samuel's story doesn't start anywhere close to that image. The first time we're introduced to Samuel, he was in the tabernacle, maybe a place you would expect a prophet, but Samuel was just a young child. He wasn't in charge, he wasn't influential. He was only a child who had been dropped off to serve God and the high priest, a man named Eli. Samuel was not the son of a priest or a prophet. He was the son of humble and common parents. He was not in line for wealth or power or influence. Compared to Eli's sons, Samuel must have felt like just a kid, picking up chores and trying to be useful. Eli was in charge, and Eli had sons who were expected to take his position. However Samuel would serve, it would be in the margins, out of the limelight. No one was turning to a child like Samuel for religious advice or to discern the things of God. That is, until God spoke quite unexpectedly to the child and forced the high priest to listen. The story goes, one night, Eli, who was almost blind by now, had gone to bed. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was sleeping in the tabernacle near the ark of God. Suddenly, the Lord called out, "Samuel." "Yes," Samuel replied. "What is it?" He got up and ran to Eli. "Here I am. Did you call me?" "I didn't call you," Eli replied. "Go back to bed." So he did. 3 times this happens, until Eli finally realized that it was God who was speaking to the child. So Eli gave him new instructions. "Go and lie down again, and if someone calls again, say, 'Speak, Lord, your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went back to bed, and the Lord came and called as before, "Samuel, Samuel." And Samuel replied, "Speak, your servant is listening." What does it mean that God was speaking to a common boy lying in the tabernacle while the great high priest was asked to wait and listen? Why would God do this? Of all the ways and to all of the individuals God could speak, why choose Samuel? When Jesus called for the children, he gave voice to what is a pattern of God's calling. It is not just to the powerful religious leaders that God chooses to speak. God speaks to those he chooses. And who he often chooses challenges who we might. Often those he chooses to speak to are those humble enough to actually listen. Not with an agenda, not as a claim to their own fame, but like a humble child lying in the temple. As we grow and become less like children, there is so much more noise competing for our attention. The TV across the room, the buzzing of my phone, the breaking headlines, and my busy schedule, we see the intimacy others have with God and wonder, why not us? Why doesn't God speak to me like that? I think most of us know. It is hard to listen with the simplicity of a child, a humble heart, a wanting ear, a receptive spirit. By his word and by his spirit, God is still speaking. Listen.